Hello and welcome everyone, this is Blackadder at Blackadder's Place and it's time for another Age of Mythology game. This time it's going to be between Occupy France, that is a Nick of Magic, and against him will stand Kimo 67, who is a pretty skilled player, because right now he is second in the Voobly ladder, right behind Magic. So yeah, this is going to be a fight between those top two players of the ladder overall. You can see that Magic is going to be playing Gaia. Well, he is pretty skilled with basically all the gods, but lately on the latest editions of the Voobly Balance patch, he is really liking playing Gaia, so let's see how he will play with her this time around on Mediterranean. Otherwise, Kimo 67 is basically main Ra, he mains Ra, and well, this basically means that we will be seeing him at his best overall. So let's get on with the game and see how it develops. The first to have a look at right now is going to be on the left, Occupy France, aka Magic, and you can already see that the Lush that is nicely boosted in the Voobly Balance patch is already growing up, and well, on the left he's seen those triple bars, so that's definitely going to be a pretty nice help. And where is the first forest? Of course, right next to the dock, which seems to be placed also pretty nicely, as he's going to be having a threesome right next to it. Let's just check it if it's true, and it is. And it seems like that it's literally in the middle, as he's going to be having a threesome on the right and on the left as well. So yep, this is a very, very nice position indeed. Of course, he has cast the forest for the reason, so that he actually doesn't lose the walking time of the villager, as they are pretty slow of the Atlanteans, and of course, that would have been pretty nasty loss of seconds, and quite needlessly. And he's already moving to the left, going with the piggies, and those piggies were going there because he was probably hoping that he can actually prevent the pig, the wild boar, actually getting damage into the citizen, but it wasn't really all that bad, and he is still at some pretty nice hit points. Otherwise, he's scouting first defensively with the first oracle in here, so he already knows where the next TC is, the defensive one, and otherwise he has discovered a pick and also the front TC with the second oracle and also with some aurochs, so that's pretty nice if he happens to lose the water. Also knows about the gold, but it's quite close to the water, so I'm afraid for him that it's not going to be safe at all if he happens to lose the water, and yep, this is definitely going to be in range and he will have to win the water if he wants to make sure this really remains his. Otherwise, a relic for better wall hit points. Well, it's useful, but usually not on Medit. On Medit you usually don't need it all that often, especially in 1v1. So let's switch in the meantime into Kimo and how he is doing in his gameplay. He's already Asra, of course, on the wood line in here, with decent amount of villages, and already at 2 docks you can see that the first one is in a pretty decent position, whereas the second one is basically going for the one on the left. And let's see, I'm just thinking that I actually didn't see Magic going for autocue. That's going to be an interesting one, and yeah, he actually did. So he didn't at the very beginning. You can see that actually right now he's switching it off and on. Yeah, that's a bit of a micro in there, and he's basically trying to make sure that he is having the resources quite nicely spent and is having as optimal build orders as he can. You can see that nothing is going on like that for Kimo, but it doesn't seem like that he's really needing it, because he doesn't need the extra wood for the houses and whatnot, so yeah, he doesn't really need to worry about that all that much. Otherwise, he also has the piggies on the right, going for them with the empowered by the priest, and otherwise building houses around with... Yeah, this is probably not going to be finished anytime soon, just a bit later, once he finishes with those bars, but otherwise he has discovered this TC at the very back, basically a mirror of the one at the top, so yep, it's a very similar position. And also another relic here, that's Archer Ballista and Kiro Ballista. Well, LS and range, that's not going to be all that useful for Kimo, but it's better that it's right next to him than if it was next to his opponent, Gaia, who could definitely make use of the better Kiro Ballistas. Oracle is already here from Magic, so let's just turn off the Fog of War, as it's not going to be all that useful anymore. And you can already see that Magic is going for it, well, quite nicely. He has scouted most of the map, it seems. Well, most of the map, basically half of the map is already scouted for him. He also knows about the front TC of his opponent, and he is really playing this quite nicely, because he will be knowing exactly what his opponent is doing through the very nice scouting of those oracles. So yeah, right now we should be getting aware that his opponent is having double docks already, and we should be entering next ages reasonably soon. You can see that halfway there is already Magic, quite nicely building both the manor and the temple, and also the forest. And this is basically for one reason only, and that's because he's playing against Ra, and Ra can go for a surprising 15 cents attack with the villages. And basically, if you have as many buildings around the TC as possible, you are going to be preventing free space for the villages to attack, and they would but just be queuing one behind another, and they wouldn't be able to attack the TC as effectively. So yeah, this is very nice defense from Magic, and let's see how is it going to look for his opponent. For 20 advance here, whereas for Kimo he is just now in halfway there, so it's going to be quite a lot later. So let's see if the opponent is going to be making some use of that. He's already having the servant going for a bit of a raiding, but you can also see that it's going to be four dogs for Kimo. That's quite a lot, and it's going to be quite difficult for Magic to deal with, especially looking at the pretty big amount of fishing boats and also the closeness of the fishing spots right next to the docks, which will make it all that easier to defend. So this is very nicely played through the very fast advance of Occupy France, aka Magic. So he is putting his opponent off the water, but it's probably not going to be lasting all that long, because you can see the resources for Kimo for 154. That's going to be 3 boats right after the advance, so that's going to be pretty easy for him to basically deal with the nuisance in here, as long as he can finish this dock, which is basically what he's trying to attempt to do. And, oh well, even though he did lose like 2 or 3 in the attempt to actually finish it, it was definitely worth it, because this defensive line is going to be paying dividends quite soon, and it's going to be very hard for Magic to put Kimo out of the water anytime soon. So yeah, even though he's having a quite nice navy, if Kimo plays this correctly with the support of the docks, he is going to be in a pretty nice position as well. 5 boats against 7 with Oceanus, but extra 5 on the docks is going to be basically making up for all those problematic parts. Carnivora just trying to actually turn this around yet again into Magic's favor, and it seems to be working quite nicely, but at the same time Kimo is paying enough attention so that he retreated and is right now positioning his boats quite nicely. On the minimap, looking not much really is going on, just a bit of scouting from the blue player, who already is knowing where the extra gold is for his opponent. And looking at the map, it's kinda interesting, because you can see that the extra gold is going to be on the right, if actually he's behind this one on the left, and really this is basically all aggressive gold in here, so not really all that easy for him at all. So one villager shifted, sorry. And that's a very nice reaction from actually Magic. Oh, can he actually escape with it? Well, that was some next level play right there. That was absolutely brilliantly played by Magic. Have you seen this? First, he went under the tower to actually protect the villager from getting shot at, because once you are right below, you cannot shoot at it with the tower unless you have the extra upgrade. Then he sent the Oracle in, wow, to actually catch the extra fire, and when it was aggroed on him, he just escaped with the villager, and Kimo wasn't paying enough attention, and that allowed him to actually save the villager. So, well, tough luck, Kimo. You didn't kill even one villager with your 15 cents, and you even gave extra opportunity to Magic to actually somehow scout your front DC and potentially even build a front base at there. Well, that was really something. So let's go back to the water in here, with Kimo having a pretty decent neighbor right now, and looking at the numbers, and of course at the fact that actually Atlantean boats are weaker than Egyptian ones. Well, this is basically going one way, unless Occupy France can advance into the next age sometime soon, but I don't really expect that to be happening in here, and it really seems like the later advance from Kimo, it was later like at least 40 seconds or some such, and did really pay off in stronger economy, and he's right now basically halfway to dominating the sea overall. You can already see that he is taking bounty of all those fishing spots in here yet again, and he's basically controlling the water at this point, and I don't see actually Magic can be coming back into this game. You can also see it reflected on the score with 60 more points. And yeah, this is basically just waiting for the inevitable, and Magic should be basically giving up on the water, as I don't expect that he will be winning this anytime soon. Yeah, this budget has been here for quite some time, is already going to be killed. As Kimo is yet again paying attention to the water more than anything else. He doesn't really care about the land. And well, you can also see the murmillos growing in numbers, and also the switch into the piggies with the villages from Occupy France, aka Magic. Otherwise, this villager is going to be staying here, and this is yet again also pretty nicely played by Magic, because this is one of the key goals for Kimo, as it's on the way to his front TC, and this means that it is not going to be all that easy to gather from, even if he manages to capture it. But well, I kinda expecting that even Magic could be trying to wall it in and basically overall control this TC and gain advantage from that, basically leaving his opponent Kimo with just the TC on the left. And you can already see that he's clicked in, so he's going for it with the priest and also the villagers, so that's going to be the one, a defensive option for him. Also quite nice scouting from Occupy France on the left, basically seeing all the gold that his opponent Kimo could be having. On the water it's just inevitable, so there's not much point to actually be concentrating on that. But let's have a look around how we are looking actually with some advances and whatnot. Resources for Kimo are not really anywhere near close. He's having a lot of wood and decent amount of gold, so he basically should be stopping with the wood economy, which he seems to be. Switching also into barracks in here, so that's very nicely played. Otherwise, yep, that's pretty much it. And he seems to be going for the TC as well, or is it for the gold? Oh well, let's see. He's going in here, so probably for the gold. But with already at least one more mill in here, it's probably not going to be all that easy for him, especially with the bear right here. So let's see if Magic actually recognizes this opportunity, and it seems he does. Yeah, with the Murmillo getting at the Pharaoh, but it seems like that he's going to be losing, and well, it is still quite enough for the villagers to actually retreat, as Kimo is basically expecting that Occupy France, aka Magic, will be having a bit more units in there, which is quite soon going to be the case. So Pharaoh not doing anything at all. That's also very nicely played by Magic, I have to say. Whereas on the left, it seems like that actually Kimo, after finishing the town center, he's right now quite interested in this gold, but it's not going to be all that easy because the units are not there yet, even though they are getting there, the Axemen and Slingers. But still, if he can send some extra reinforcements in, it's not going to be all that easy for Kimo to gather even from the gold on the left. On the minimap, we have already noticed that Magic is going for 30C, as he has finished second just a moment earlier. Yeah, he's having pretty nice echo right about now. Let's have a look at the post game. We are having economy 56 villages high on Kimo, whereas for Occupy France we have 21, so it's more or less equal, considering that Atlantean villages are like 2.5 of normals, bit of idlers. That's not really something you see all that often with Magic, but otherwise not much interesting stuff going on. We don't even see armor yet, so he's not thinking about advancing into the next age, but at the same time he is right now booming quite hard and is going to be better at it than his opponent Kimo, even though he is having water. Because even though he's going to be having a bit of a boost through the water, he still doesn't have extra TC. He's just at 2 TCs against 3, which would definitely mean that Magic will be having much stronger economy. But at the same time, through the extra boost of the food economy from the water, he is right now having a decent amount of army and is going for a bit of a raiding on his opponent. But since this TC is already finished, which he doesn't know, or rather, he knows, but he doesn't know it's next to the gold, it's going to be quite tough for him to do absolutely anything against that. But looking at the walling, it just reminds me that what I was saying a bit earlier, that walls are actually not all that crucial. Looking also at the return to water from the Magic, that the walls, well, they are not that important, because usually the games on Medit are kind of straightforward. You win the water and then you just steamroll opponents through the land, but sometimes you can even make some use of them, like here Kimo. And we are trying to protect your gold in there, but still he is not even protecting his right side, so it's not like he is really thinking about some overall pretty great walling. So yeah, that's a bit of a harassing on the gold, but it's going to be with pretty heavy losses through the town center and whatnot. But still, Magic needs to be careful, and he should be developing on the right side as well, and probably employ some walls also. It's going to be quite easy for him to wall about here and here. And he doesn't really need to worry about the water all that much, because you can see that right now he's actually taking it back, and this is the danger of water on Medit, because once you win it, you kind of tend to think that actually you have won it for the rest of the game, but it's usually not the case. And once you are not paying enough attention and basically switch your economy into land 1 fully, you are opening the opportunity for your opponent to actually come back and basically surprise you, which is exactly what is happening. And Occupy France, okay, Magic is really doing a pretty nice job of that, but he needs to be careful because you can see that Kimo is advancing through Hathor, of course with Rain and quite a decent amount of farms, and will be having a, well, advantage in age if Magic isn't careful, because he isn't advancing yet. He is close in there with the resources, so is there somewhere actually the armory? Not yet, but he is literally all over the place with the units, and he seems to be right now trying to defend on the right, because obviously Kimo has moved there from the defensive position on the left. That was quite nicely and easily defended for Magic, whereas on the right there was nothing, but well, right now there's an army, and it's a position where Kimo should basically be retreating because he doesn't have a chance of defeating this, exactly because the military buildings from Magic are much closer, and well, of course, Kimo just doesn't have any reinforcements in there just yet. He's taking care of the manor and possibly even the military barracks, but I don't think it's going to be lasting all that long. I would be expecting Magic to be going there quite soon, but so far it's not happening, and he seems to be quite content with the situation as it is. Armory finished, advancing into Thea, of course. This is also quite nice idea from Kimo, as he basically is aiming to protect the second gold, as he's kind of half expecting that he's not going to be able to fully protect the one on the right, and it's also not effective, as he will be able to gather from there with limited amount of villages, whereas on the left it's wide open, and you can protect it with the wall, and even somehow through the water, it's still going to be quite nice usage of there for him. Magic switching to the left, so not continuing to the right. That's interesting. That's kind of interesting choice, because he has seen that his opponent is arriving at the town center and will be attempting to capture it for himself. So it's kind of interesting, really, choice. And I would be expecting that he would be going for it a bit more. But maybe he recognized that since his opponent is at the next age, there is going to be Migdol somewhere nearby, and it would be quite impossible for him with just classical units to defend that. So yeah, that's not a bad idea, not a bad thought in here, and you can already see that Kimo is also thinking about gathering from the woodline and basically rescuing the gold that is right behind it. So this seems like that the TC is going to be quite easily coming for him. Well, it was nicely built and destroyed in just a matter of moments, so that was really not enough forethought in there. But well, he did need to wait a bit, Kimo, for the town center because of the lush. You can see that exactly, as once you have a lush right next to the town center, it's not going to be possible to build upon it. So that's also another reason why it's important to go for map control once you are Gaia. He is also full on right now on the left side without any army from Kimo, who is on the right side. Is of course going to be quite easy, and he should be getting rid of the Migdol, which is a bit problematic as it's quite a lot of gold at this stage. That's 400 gold basically wasted, and he's also getting a bit raided in here, and well, also with the help of the boats right here. So far it seems like that actually Kimo is not going all that strongly back for the water. And we see yet another carnivore next to the Migdol, and well, yeah, that's always a risk, fighting against the Migdol, once your opponent is having a decent amount of resources for chariot archers, which is basically a given for Aura, as usually, they are quite fast to build, and well, that basically means that even if you have an army in there, if you cannot have enough reinforcements, you'll face a challenge of being outnumbered quite soon indeed, which is exactly what happened, and a very nice defense from Kimo. On the right side the situation is kinda covered with 45 TC already, but he seems to be aiming also for some very nice back build. And I'm talking about Magic in here with the palace and the military barracks, and you can kinda expect what's going to happen. And it's going to be sneaky destroyers coming for the TC, 1C mounts, a full front attack on the left. I would be expecting the battle, let's not be hasty, because he seems to be switching to the right at this point, and well, there might be a bit of a damage to the economy, but at the same time, it's not going to be all that easy for him to finish with the TC without any kind of siege, so he definitely needs to wait for the destroyers from the palace. So Tartarian Gate being cast in here in the middle, and that's interesting placement, and it's not really half bad because it's both in the trade route. We have already seen some camels in here traveling, and also has a lot of villagers gathering from the farm, so it's not really bad placement at all. And let's see how many of these he's going to lose. And this attempt at taking down the Tartarian Gate, he should be succeeding with it without any kind of problems. But at the same time, it's going to be delay into his economy. And looking at the docks, he is having some war barges, some sea ships quite ready in here, but it doesn't seem like that he actually can fight against what Magic is having in here. As Magic is not having all that many boats left, but it's going to be easy for him to switch into those fire ships. And once he actually gets all those units into some kind of attack, he was fighting on the left a bit earlier, it should be reasonably easy to do something about the water in some permanent manner. A bit of a raiding, but not really successful due to all those chariot archers in here. But well, yet again, we are just waiting for the right moment for Magic to advance with some destroyers and whatnot into the opponent's base. He is already switching into fire siphons, so not even bothering with the destroyers. And well, this was a nice idea until the villager got killed through the fire of those town centers and the heavy chariot archers. On the left, there's yet another attempt from Magic to actually advance into Kimo, so that's a pretty nice battle on both fronts, on the right and on the left. And you also see some nice upgrades already. Heavy Murmilos with copper shields from Magic, whereas his opponent, Kimo, is having heavy chariots, which is also not half bad. Switching at the economy look, let's have a look. Carpenters, Plow and Quarry. Well, Plow could definitely get better, since he's in Mythical already, but he doesn't seem to be needing that all that much. You can see that he's quite well in the food department. So let's switch into his opponent and his economy, and he's having what upgrades? He's having Bowsaw, that's worse, but he's having better economy on the food irrigation, also Quarry, and some extra upgrades, of course, from Ra, like Shaduf, Skin of the Rhino, and Husbandry as well. So the economy seems to be quite okay, but he has just depleted the mine, and this one isn't really safe due to the palace, so he needs to be careful, and he really needs the one on the right, so he kinda needs to hurry up with actually making sure that he can get it from it with the most villages possible. Attack already quite recent raiding from Kimo. He's definitely using the strengths of his god quite nicely, and well, this is quite costly to Magic, as even though he is still having quite nice gold mine on the right, yeah, the one on the left is not going to be all that defensible. It's still a bit of raiding in here. Going to be quite crucial if he can keep the one on the right, because otherwise it's not going to be all that easy for him. Full-on attack on the right, whereas Kimo is just raiding on the top, and it seems like that this position should be quite okay for Magic to attack into. But looking also at the Son of Osiris right now being cast by Kimo, that's going to be quite deadly, as he should be getting rid of the Dryads and also of the pesky birdie in here. You can see just half damage, rather half hit points dead, just a one hit from the lightning, and well, Son of Osiris is definitely making his life count in here. At the same time though, the siphons improved in the Voobly balance patch are definitely doing their job, and with the combination of heavy Arcus into them, also pretty recent upgrades, it's definitely paying off, as even with the mercenaries from Kimo, he is unable to get rid of them, and once this TC is actually taken down, it's going to be pretty difficult for Kimo to fight against this, because next TC is quite far away for the mercenaries, and it doesn't seem like that he's actually having enough push to somehow stop Magic from advancing forward. Even though he's right now retreating, he's basically just biding his time, as he is right now at an advantage of 3 TCs against 2, and all he needs to do for the remainder of the game is basically keep his opponent off of the DC, and if you can manage that, well, it's going to be basically halfway into victory in here. Yeah, it's going to be pretty easy for him. Pretty easy indeed. Underwater, some barges in here. Basically nothing happening extra, so it basically tells me that Kimo doesn't even... Yeah, he didn't know that he was having the boats, but right now, exactly as we're walking at it, rather watching it, he has recognized that there is some extra boat that he could be using, and definitely will be needed very soon. Diversive attack from the left by Magic, trying to take down the Migdol, so that actually this gold is not available to his opponent. Whereas on right, yeah, the situation is pretty clear, and it doesn't seem like that Kimo will be having actually enough push to even somehow stall his opponent at this stage. Yeah, those upgrades from Occupy France, aka Magic, are definitely paying off with the copper shields against those chariot archers, and well, the copper weapons for the battery attack are also pretty decent for his army. Receiving just heavy chariot archers, and that's pretty much it for Kimo, and he doesn't have extra resources in there for the extra upgrades. Well, he potentially could, but since he needs all the resources that he can get actually to funnel into producing his military, it doesn't seem like that it's going to be strong enough. Magic just developing in here, and he can even afford quite a lot of idols. He can definitely be sending them in, and those villagers are just waiting for the DC to take it for themselves. Yeah, those Archai are doing their job. This Infaliambert's coming in, and once this barracks is down, it's going to be quite problematic for Kimo to have any kind of chance against this town center, as I literally don't see how this could be happening. He still has locusts, so he can potentially stop this. He can basically kill those two villages, but I'm not sure if that's going to be happening, especially with the extra army that was just loafing in here, coming in, and yeah, that's going to be very easy for him, as he's also attacking on the left, and yeah, here we go. Magic is winning this game, and we're just going to be having a quick look on the left with the Migdol killed, and yeah, basically a full occupy of not France but gold on the left, and not allowing Kimo to do anything else at all. So that was quite an interesting game. A very nice play on the water by Kimo, basically biding his time with the economy and whatnot, and even though he advanced quite a lot later, he was able to overcome his opponent Magic with the numbers, and he did quite well indeed in here. And even with the advantage from the water that he had, he was having quite nice advance on the left, but somehow he was too spread out and he wasn't able to secure both sides at the same time, whereas Magic could, and I think that's because Magic was going for 3 TCs quite a lot sooner, so he had stronger economy overall, and he just had upgrades in his army and also economy sooner than his opponent, and it really made all the difference, quite apparently. And the comeback on the water, of course, put Kimo in a pretty tough situation. I think Kimo didn't expect that, which means that his economy really suffered at that point, and that was exactly the point that Magic used to apply some pressure on his opponent. So let's have a look at the post game with Magic winning absolutely everything. That's a bit surprising. I would be expecting that Kimo would be maybe winning on economy potentially through the water, but well, obviously the economy of Gaia is a lot stronger. A whole lot. That's 1500, 2000, 3.5, 3.5 and 6, 9,500 more resources from the villagers. Well, that's a lot, and just 1500 more in the trade route for Kimo from the trade. Well. Military count also nice, and units killed, of course. And advanced times, well, as we have talked about the classical age at the very start, and research count pretty much the same, 22 for Kimo, whereas 24 for Magic, so that's basically the same, but it was making difference what kind of quality he was getting. The military upgrades for Magic were quite important, whereas Kimo didn't have any, and well, fortunately he was fighting against upgrades with the weapons that they were against. Steady rise, whereas there was a bit of actually not doing anything for Kimo. It's kind of weird. The flat curve in here after advancing to the next age, but well, that happens. That was basically I remember why. Oh yeah, that was because he was building the docks in there, and he was losing fishing boats basically to just finish it and whatnot. So yeah, that's the reason why he wasn't growing. He was growing in villages, but he was dropping in fishing boats. So that's the reason for the flat curve in here. Alright then, so that was quite a nice game. Congrats Magic for a very nice performance with some very nice tricks in there, and well, He definitely proved that he can play from both sides at once on Mediterranean. Whereas Kimo, he quite nicely played on the water. He was also quite nicely playing on both sides, but yeah, just not on par of Magic just yet. So I hope you enjoyed the game the same as I did, and also liked the streaming. And if you did like the video, hit the thumb up below it to like it, and well, of course, subscribe to this channel for more videos like these. I've been Blackadder at Blackadder's Place. Thank you for watching, and see you later.